What is psychology? Psychology comes from two Greek words, psyche plus logos. Psyche means soul and logos means study, so the combined meaning of psychology is study of soul. Psychology is the scientific study of behavior and mental process. It includes not just what people do but also their thoughts, feelings, perception, reasoning processes and memories, and even the biological activities that keep their bodies functioning. Who is the father of psychology? Wilhelm Wundt opened the Institute for Experimental Psychology at the University of Leipzig in Germany 1979. This was the first laboratory, and its opening is usually thought of as the beginning of modern psychology. So, Wilhelm Wundt regarded as the father of psychology. What are the primary goals of psychology? There are 4 primary goals of psychology: describe, explain, predict, change or control. Describe. Describing things is something we do every single day with no conscious thought or effort. But describing in psychology has a slightly different meaning than the describing we do in our everyday life. Describing a problem, an issue, or behavior is the first goal of psychology. Descriptions help psychologists to distinguish between normal and abnormal behavior and gain a more accurate understanding and perspective on human and animal behavior, actions, and thoughts. Psychology analyzes the thoughts, feelings, actions and goals of people through the help of various case studies, observations and surveys. Explain. Psychologists are very interested in being able to explain behavior rather than just being able to describe it. Explaining behavior goes hand in hand with describing it. This helps in providing answers to questions about why people react in a certain way, why they do the things they do, and the factors which affect their personality, their mental health, their actions, etc. With the help of scientific experiments, to make sure they get the same results every time, psychologists formulate many and grand theories to explain aspects of human behavior and psychology. There are many theories that have been developed by psychologists throughout the history of psychology to help explain various aspects of human behavior. Many of these theories are well known and have been accepted by scientists and scholars as theories that serve to explain parts of human behavior. Some theories focus on explaining small aspects of human behavior, like Pavlov's theory of classical conditioning and Bowlby's attachment theory. Others set out to describe human behavior in its entirety, like Erik Erikson's 8 stages of human development and Sigmund Freud's Freudian theory. Predict. Making predictions about how we think and act is the third goal of psychology. By looking at past observed behavior, describing and explaining, psychologists aim to predict how that behavior will appear again in the future and whether other people might exhibit the same behavior. Through the process of describing and explanation, psychologists are able to understand more about what thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are contributing factors. They can then use that knowledge to predict why, when, and how those things might happen in the future. Psychologists can then foresee a pattern of behavior. By being able to successfully predict a pattern of behavior, psychologists can better understand the underlying causes of our actions. Prediction gives psychologists the ability to change or control behavior, which leads us to the last goal of psychology: change or control. Psychology aims to change, influence, or control behavior to make positive, constructive, meaningful, and lasting changes in people's lives and to influence their behavior for the better. This is the final and most important goal of psychology. These 4 goals of psychology aren't that different from how you would naturally interact with others. Let's say, for example, someone did something they weren't supposed to do and this had a negative impact on their life. You may want to try to help her resolve the issue, and, naturally, the following questions might run through your mind. What happened? Describing. Why did she do that? Explaining. What would happen if she did this? Predicting. What can she do next time to have a different outcome? Changing. Now, one of the questions that rises in our mind is, how can the 4 goals of psychology help you? A perfect example of the 4 goals in action and how they can be useful in our everyday life can be found in Ivan Pavlov's dog experiment. Pavlov noticed his dogs would salivate whenever they saw the lab technician bringing their food. He deduced that this was a learned behavior since the dogs had not initially reacted that way, ringing a bell every time he fed the dog. After repeating this several times, the dogs began to associate the sound of the ringing bells with food and would start salivating every time he rang the bell. Through his experiment, Pavlov successfully changed the dog's behavior and taught them a new one. For instance, by using Pavlov's theory and by following the 4 goals of psychology, people can change behavior and get the results they want, both good and bad. For example, parents and teachers use these steps to discipline children and to show good behavior. Couples can use them in their relationships. Companies use these methods with employees and for training programs, while professionals use these goals in rehabilitation programs, psychotherapy, and other treatment programs. The 4 goals can also be used independently in your personal life if you are working hard to change a habit or overcome a difficulty.